But of course, envelopes can be used to modulate anything. And the way you do that, as I already showed you in the last module, just turn up sustain for a minute. The way you do that is just by dragging the modulator that you want to the parameter that you want. So for example, a very classic one is the filter envelope, where if we're using a low pass here, to roll off the upper frequencies, we could then use an envelope, like let's say envelope 2, which I can switch to there, to modulate that cutoff. Yeah, so you just drag it to the dial, and then you can click, rather than click on the dial, you just click above here. And then I could drag up and down to change the amount that the envelope shifts the cutoff up and down. So let's say we want to have it go right up there. So the envelope, as it's got that on-off effect, just by going up and down a bit like a square wave there, we're just getting the cutoff jumping straight up and closing when the note stops. If we want it to sweep up and down instead, then I can just increase the attack and sweep down as well, then just decrease the sustain. Increase the decay to have the sweep down last a bit longer. And you get the idea. And don't forget also, when you use envelopes to modulate parameters, the release will only have an effect if you have set a longer release in the amplitude envelope. For example, if I add some release there, we don't really hear it doing anything, even though it's nice and long there, because of course the sound fades out too quickly. So if I first increase the amplitude release, so we get a nice long fade out, then I could use this release here to set whether I want the filter to close rapidly or slowly on that fade out. It's probably easier to hear that actually if I just bring the sustain up on this envelope, so the filter's staying open while I hold down a note. And then when I let go, it's fading out straight away because both our releases are nice and short. But even though I increase the release on this envelope here, which is controlling the filter cutoff, as the sound's fading out too quickly in the amp envelope, we're not hearing that. So turn that up so it's nice and long, a few seconds. And then this release can be used to set how quickly this filter closes as the note fades out. And if you want to temporarily get rid of some modulation from this window here, you can just right click on a control, and there you can see bypass modulator. Then when I play notes, we're just getting the lower frequencies and the cutoff isn't shifting around. And you can also remove the modulator altogether if you want to, as well as all modulators. And you can also select modulators to modulate a control from that menu as well. So for example, if we had some extra unison voices now, but I wanted the blend control to come up and down with this envelope as well, then I could just right click there, choose envelope 2 as the modulator. And for some reason it bypasses it on default, but I'll turn that off. Now you can see we get the blend going up and down as well as the filter cutoff when I play notes. And if I switch to the matrix now, then you can see both of those envelope 2 mappings, one on the filter cutoff and one on the oscillator A unison blend. And you have individual controls for the amount that they change the parameter here as well. as well as master controls for each one of those modulations as well. And from this matrix, you can, of course, also set up modulation routings. Personally, I think it's probably much easier to do it from the oscillator section, but if you have one in mind, then you can also do it from there. So you can select envelope 2 and then select another parameter, like, for example, coarse pitch. But we'll look at this section in more detail when we move on to looking at LFOs.